Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This week we're giving you guys hints on everybody's favorite macronutrient, protein. Now, if you watched our Myth Monday video or you read the post that's on our website, you know that the body does not place a hard cap on the amount of protein it can absorb in one sitting. But you might be wondering, are there factors that affect how well your body can absorb protein? Or is there one protein that's better than another for the type of goal that you have? I'm going to be answering all these questions. Now, just so you guys know, I am going to be giving you some examples of proteins you can get, but if you want a more comprehensive list of high protein foods by category, I'll leave that link down below, but just make sure you're signed up as a H.I.N.T VIP in order to access it. Let's get started. Okay, before we dive into the different types of protein, let's just start with the basics. If you were to dissect 1 gram of protein down to its core, you would find that it's made up of a bunch of things called amino acids. Now, the body uses 20 of these amino acids in order to form its protein structures and to fulfill all of those functions of those proteins. Now, our body is capable of making almost all of these, all of them except for 9. Those 9 you have to get from the food that you eat, and those are called essential amino acids. Proteins that have all 9 of these essential amino acids, those are going to be called complete proteins, and those that are lacking some or all 9 are going to be called incomplete proteins. This is important for you to know moving forward because that's going to be one of the criteria we use to judge which protein is better than another. The other piece of criteria we're going to use to rank our protein is going to be called bioavailability. The basic definition of this word just means how easily the body is able to break down and extract a certain percentage of protein from a source. Now, there is something online called a bioavailability index. You can find that through just a basic Google search. And if you want to use that as a reference during this video, you're welcome to do so. First, let's dissect protein found in foods that are plant sourced. This would be maybe something like edamame, lentils, chickpeas, beans, etc. Now, we all know that finding protein in large amounts in plant-based foods is a little bit harder, but is it also a little bit harder for our body to use? Let's start by looking at bioavailability. As a whole, plants tend to rank a little bit lower on the bioavailability index, and that's usually due to factors like thick cell walls that make it really difficult for the body to break down and extract the amino acids that are inside. That being said, those that are on a really strict vegan or vegetarian diet may find that they need to eat a little bit extra of these foods in order to make sure they're hitting their daily protein intake goal. Aside from this, plant-based foods also tend to be incomplete proteins with a few exceptions. Now, anything that's considered whole soy or as buckwheat or quinoa would fall into this category of complete proteins, but for the rest of them, they need to be paired with either something called a complementary protein or with a complete protein itself. Some examples of complementary protein would be like rice and beans together make a complete protein, and then I'll leave a more extensive list down in my bio for you to reference as well. So again, if you are on a vegan or vegetarian diet, you're just going to have to get a little bit more creative with your meal combinations and making sure you're getting enough of these foods that have protein in them to make sure you're reaching your daily goals. Okay, the next category of protein we're going to look at is animal source protein. This would be things like fish, poultry, eggs, dairy, things like that. Now, these are a lot easier to find in large amounts and tend to be the most popular option, especially for athletes, because of this fact. Now, how easily, though, is it used by the body? The bioavailability index does show that animal source protein tends to rank a lot higher than plant-based sources, with the body able to absorb about 95% of the protein found in these sources. Some scientists suggest that this could be due to the fact that the cell structure in animal protein is very similar to that of our own, but there's probably plenty more factors involved. One of which points right to our second criteria we use to rank protein, and that is the amino acid profile. Most, if not all, animal proteins fall under the category of complete protein, as they do contain all 9 of those essential amino acids, and there may be a few exceptions, though none that I personally know of. That being said, this is fairly good news for all you carnivores out there, as many of the protein sources you'll choose will give you maximum benefit towards your goals. Now, before I get attacked by all the vegans and vegetarians out there, I am in no way participating in the debate as to whether or not a vegan or an animal source diet is healthier. I am simply just stating the facts on the proteins in these foods and how they're broken down and used in the body. All right, Now let's move on to our next source of protein, and this one is probably the most popular amongst athletes, and that is whey protein. Whey comes from cows, and basically when the milk is processed into cheese and the curds are removed from the coagulated liquid, there's a very clear liquid that remains at the top, and that's where scientists go in and remove the tiny little whey proteins from this liquid. The techniques will differ based on the different concentrations of whey that they're trying to achieve, and we're going to talk about those now. The first one is whey powder. This is something you'll see in a lot of food additives like salad dressing or even infant formula, and is the least bioavailable of all the whey proteins. There's only usually about 10 to 15% protein concentration in each of these, so it's not what you would usually find in, say, a sports supplement. The next category is whey protein concentrate. Now this is what you most commonly see in post-workout supplements, as it yields a much higher concentration of protein, usually around 89% or more. The third category is whey protein isolate. Now this is the purest form of whey protein you can get. It is 99.9% lactose free, making it perfect even for those who are sensitive to dairy, and it is also the fastest absorbing whey protein, so it makes it perfect for athletes who are just finishing their workout. Our final category of whey protein is called casein. Now casein is actually the protein found in milk and is what's responsible for giving milk its white color. This is the slowest digesting protein because when you ingest it, it forms this gel-like block in your stomach that breaks down slowly over time, releasing amino acids over an extended period. This being the case, a lot of times athletes like to drink this type of protein before bed because it allows for overnight recovery of their muscles. Alright, now it's time to rank whey protein. As far as bioavailability goes, whey protein is the most bioavailable source of protein you can get, and it is always considered a complete protein. Now let's move on to our final category, plant-based protein powders. These are great alternatives for vegans and vegetarians that are looking to supplement their daily protein intake or for an alternative for muscle recovery. These are usually made by grinding up various plant-based items that have protein in them and then removing the water in order to create a powder form. Let's look at some examples. Our first category is soy protein. Now when the soybeans are ground up and the water is extracted, this leaves you with about 70% protein concentration, which can be a little bit on the lower end. But as far as bioavailability goes, it's actually ranked on par with whey protein and is still a complete protein that also has BCAAs. The next category of protein is pea protein. Now this protein leaves you with a little bit higher concentration, about 85%, which makes it a really popular option for vegan athletes. In fact, in 2015, there was a study done on athletes that showed that pea protein produces just as much muscle thickness as whey protein does. Alongside this, pea protein is also very highly bioavailable and is a complete protein with all 9 of the essential amino acids. Our last two types of plant protein are hemp protein and brown rice protein. These tend to have a little bit lower concentrations of protein, with hemp falling about 50% and brown rice falling as low as 6%, making them not quite as popular for sports supplements, but great for food additives or meal replacements. As far as bioavailability goes, both of these do tend to rank pretty high, but hemp protein is considered a complete protein while brown rice is not. Alright, now that you know all about the different sources of protein and how to determine protein quality, we hope this gives you lots of confidence as you go out into the world and try to find bioavailable and complete sources of protein to work for your goal. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video to be helpful, as always, click that like button and make sure you subscribe because we have a lot more content coming. For all my H.I.N.T VIPs, thank you guys for joining us, and if you haven't become one yet or you haven't even read the free book we're giving away, I'm going to leave that link down in the description so you can snag that now. See you guys next time.